am going to begin sharing my screen here. Whoops. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. Share my screen, and here we go. Okay. Somebody give me a thumbs up if you're seeing that. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, so we are looking at element 16. Again, the mindset will be understanding the danger of addictive foods. I think we're all familiar with that danger. The skill set will be identifying our personal susceptibility to these foods, and then we will have action later on. I love this quote by Dr. Anderson. The habits of disease create instantaneous pleasure, but they will ultimately result in significant consequences to your health and well-being. So when we think about it, those addictive foods, it really is just instantaneous pleasure. It doesn't give us anything good long-term. And again, if we're really looking for radiant health, that healthy food is going to be what's going to get us there. Unfortunately, sometimes we crave that unhealthy food, and that does lead to those chronic poor health conditions. Sneaks up on us. Okay, so the mindset with insatiable hunger. Who's been there before? Insatiable hunger. Never get to the, yeah, all of us, right? And in the Life book, Dr. Anderson talks about how leptin is a hormone that signals to our brain that we're not hungry anymore. When we eat sugar and refined flour foods, our insulin level rises and it blocks leptin. So it no longer suppresses our hunger. So those refined foods flip a switch and with our metabolism, and that leads to the cravings and the addiction. And that makes us really susceptible to that poor health. This picture came from our Habits of Health book. You can see that the picture on the left, this is an MRI image of the brain. The picture on the left is a brain immediately after eating sugar. And the picture on the right is a brain after not ingesting. How do you take cocaine? Snorting, I guess. Cocaine shows you what I know. So you can see the same areas of the brain are lit up. Ultra refined foods light up that center of the brain in the identical way as heroin and cocaine. The brain releases dopamine, which is a pleasure chemical. So it does create that pleasurable feeling, and that leads to the insatiable desire for more. Ever eaten an entire bag of chips in one sitting? Or cookies? That's dopamine. And just like a drug addict, it takes more and more to satisfy us. And we aren't satisfied for as long. So we quickly become a refined sugar or refined flour addict. And Dr. Anderson points this out. It's not our fault when we can't stay away from those foods. It's that addiction, and it's built into those foods. So if you've been there, or if you're currently struggling with that, give yourself a little grace here. We need to treat ourselves with kindness about that. But Dr. Anderson also points out that some people are more susceptible than others. So I asked you to have a piece of paper and a pen, and this is where we're going to bring that out. In the Life book, on page 322, there is a Susceptibility Quiz, and we're just going to go through that quickly. It's just 10 questions, and I've written down here at the bottom of the slide, the answer to each one will either be rarely, occasionally, or daily. Don't take a lot of time, just write down your first instinct. So question number 1, I find it difficult to control how much I eat, rarely, occasionally, or daily. Just write that down quickly. Number 2, I crash in the afternoon and have trouble waking up in the morning, rarely, occasionally, daily. Crashing in the afternoon, trouble waking up in the morning. Number 3, I have cravings for specific foods, rarely, occasionally, daily. Specific food cravings. Number 4, I suffer from moodiness, headaches, or fatigue, fogginess, sorry. Moodiness, headaches, or fogginess, rarely, occasionally, daily. Number 5, when I only eat a moderate amount of food, I am not satisfied, rarely, occasionally, or daily. When I only eat a moderate amount of food, I am not satisfied. Okay, number 6, I feel guilty after eating, rarely, occasionally, daily. 7, I spend a considerable amount of time thinking about food, rarely, occasionally, daily. Number 8, I eat even if I am not hungry because I crave a specific food, rarely, occasionally, daily. Number 9, I eat large amounts of food and feel powerless to stop, rarely, occasionally, daily. Large amounts of food. Okay. And finally, number 10, I crave carbohydrates like pasta, bread, white rice, or desserts, rarely, occasionally, or daily. Okay, everybody got all those? So please add up how many of the rarelies, how many of the occasionallys, and how many of the dailies. So you'll have 3 columns. How many of each one do you have? Just take a minute to tally those up. And that will give you your susceptibility score. Everybody got those now? Okay. So with the rarelies, if you have 6 or more rarelies, you have a low susceptibility to addictive foods. Congratulations. If you have 6 or more occasionallys, you have a moderate susceptibility, kind of right there in the middle. And if you have 6 or more dailies, you have a high susceptibility. Okay. So as you're reading in the life book, you'll see that Dr. Anderson says, if you do have a high score, a high susceptibility score, avoiding eating any sugar or refined flour processed foods, even after you reach a healthy weight, is going to serve you best. Just like an alcoholic must always avoid alcohol, people with high susceptibility will best keep their weight off if they just completely cut out those foods permanently. Okay, the whole idea is that through the habits of healthy eating, you'll make good choices and avoid the need for willpower. And we all know that willpower doesn't work for long, right? It's habits that keep us going. If we have a moderate or low susceptibility, Dr. Anderson says we still need to be cautious. Remember also that there are hidden sugars in foods. There is actually a list in our Habits of Health book in section 1.1 for all the different names for sugar. and the different names for different types of processed flours as well. If we can avoid stimulating the hormonal metabolic switches that stimulate that insulin, that blocks the leptin, and allow that leptin to do its work, your body's going to be giving you the proper advice. So our bodies are made to do this right. We interrupt that signal when we're feeding it all those processed foods. So once you give in to that special occasion, that birthday cake, you'll likely experience some cravings and hunger for a few days. Anybody been there? My mom turned 95 last month, and I just had to have a piece of that ice cream cake. And ice cream was my kryptonite before I started program. It did. It took a few days to detox again from that sugar, and the cravings came back. So yeah, I would say my susceptibility was a little bit higher at that point. So, and again, if you're highly susceptible, it can take you completely off track and cause major struggles. So we all know that a plan is key all the way through this program and beyond. So here's where I want to open it up for discussion this morning. First of all, what will you do the next time you feel triggered or tempted? What are some of the plans that you can have in place? Because we all know those triggers and temptations are going to come. So what are some of the things that we can do? I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. Who wants to come off mute and say something, that a plan that they have in place for when they know there's something coming that's going to keep them on track?
Hi, Darlene.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, I really like that susceptibility thing. I don't think I've ever done that in the life book, so that was very interesting. So I already have a plan in place. Sometimes it fails, but if I go to my mom's house, she has spice drops, a big old jar. She's got ice cream in the freezer. I mean, it's all drumsticks, and I mean, there's just sugar galore. I've tried to detox her house. She just buys more sugar. So I take a little cooler with all my fuelings and popcorn snacks and extra drinks and stuff. And instead of going anywhere near the kitchen and where all that stuff is, I just go right over to the chair in the corner and try to stay in my little bubble, because I like sugar. I like sugar just like the next person. And so, especially those gumdrops, because they remind me of my dad, and that was kind of the treat he always had in the house all the time. So that's what I do. I just take my own little bag of stuff and sit in the corner, and it works most of the time. There are occasions that the gumdrops find their way into my mouth. Truth be told.
Great, thank you. And we all know we can make choices unless we're in that highly susceptible group. There are times we can make choices. We're just aware of the consequences and what we need to do from that point on. But it's always best to have a plan, because if we go in without a plan, like if you were to go without your fuelings, oh my goodness, how different could that have been? I know how it would have been for me. Who else? A specific.
Hey, Darlene.
Hey, go ahead, Noelle.
I've learned I'm a sugar addict, or ex-sugar addict as well. And if I open that floodgate, it's like game over. So I really intentionally take a brownie with me, or whatever, if I'm going to be at someone's home, or I'll take my own safe thing, or make sure that I'm not hungry when I go. But the big thing is, actually, I had been 2 years into program, and my oldest son said, we used to bake every week. We make homemade chocolate chip cookies for the kids, quote unquote. Wasn't, as I wanted the batter. So 2 years into program, my son said, do you think you can make us cookies again? It's been 2 years. I hadn't even realized that I had completely cut it out. So I said, sure, I'll make you guys some. I just can't. It's like one bite, and it's like crack, or I don't even, maybe like what crack, I don't know, something would be like, I don't know. But so what I've done as a safety net is I usually have, the sparkling water, a piece of mint gum or something when I was first teaching my kids, but I taught my 12-year-old daughter how to make them. And I just remove myself from the situation completely, unless she has a question, or something. But so now they're on occasion when they get made, if they get made, it's very rare. And I have to keep myself out of it because it's just it's my time, it's one of my splurges, or it used to be. So, or comfort kind of thing or whatever. So it's really knowing where your challenges lie and then just having a plan before you go into it. And I can't be in there until the batter's gone. I just can't be in there. So
Great, thank you. It only takes one lick, right?
Darlene, I'll share. I think it's, a lot of people have the sugar addiction. Mine wasn't much sugar as it was the refined flour. I love me a piece of nice homemade warm bread or pretzels. Those are kind of the addiction type place I go. Give me a nice salty warm buttered pretzel any day, and I was just all over that. If there's a chocolate candy bar next to that, a big warm loaf of bread, I take that warm loaf of bread over that chocolate candy bar. But I think that, for me too, I have learned that when we go into some of these restaurants, we don't get these huge basket of rolls brought to the table, because I could eat a whole basket of rolls and ask for more and put the rest of them in my purse when I walked out if I wanted to. I mean, it's just that's what I craved. Still to this day, I fight that temptation whenever, I've had COVID all week, and there have been some, my family's all here for a family reunion, and I've had some emotional moments where I just wanted to walk in and grab an entire bag of pretzels and eat them. And, so we all have different types of addictions, and that's where you have to just make the choices to either not buy them or bring them in the house, or when you're out, not order them at the table. Because those are just, we got to stop, challenge, and choose and think, okay, what's going to help me reach my goal? And how do I feel after I eat them? So, while a lot of people have sugar, I think there's other things we can be focused on too. I found it interesting in when we were talking about the healthy eating system and choosing only the low glycemic green coated foods. When you really get into your Habits of Health book and you look at those charts, that's going to help you stay on track, whether you're low susceptibility, moderate susceptibility, or high susceptibility too. And so I love that we did this quiz together, because we can really kind of see where we fall in that. Thanks, Darleen.
Yeah. Some of us have the addiction to the sugar and the bread. Yeah. A couple of months ago, we walked into Carrabba's and I had a plan. I was going to make a choice. I was going to have one piece of their bread. I had a plan. I didn't follow my plan. And before the day was over, I had eaten the whole thing. Yeah, it went home in my purse, but it didn't stay in my purse. But thankful to know how to handle it after that. Anybody else real quickly?
I'll share.
Okay.
This is my first coffee chat.
Oh, welcome, Jess.
Thank you. So I think, and I'm fairly new. I'm not quite to 3 months on plan, but I have 4 kids, and we do birthday parties and all the things like everyone does. And I've got 3 teenage boys too, and one works at a pizza place, and pizza is one of those things for me. So those temptations are always there. But I think for me, outside of having a plan and bringing fueling, it's that accountability of me saying it out loud to someone else before I go, whether it's my health coach or it's my husband. I'm saying this is what I'm going to do, because for me, I'm a recovering people pleaser, but sometimes that's a good thing for me, because I want to be able to go back and say I did it, like I was successful. So that's the accountability is a really big tool for me before I do something.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we all have a coach. So if we don't have someone else in our life that can help hold us accountable and would be that accountability partner with us, we all have a coach that's exactly what we're there for. And you know what? It gets really tempting at those times when we have maybe faltered in an embarrassing way to just kind of hide from the coach, not pick up the phone, not reach out. Those are exactly the times when we need to reach out to them and coaches are not meant to scold, so be there as a support. So don't hide from your coach if you're having a struggle. Okay. Thank you all for that. I am going to quickly share screen again. Here we go. And once we reach transition, if you're not there yet, just know there is a plan. And this is another way that we can stay on track. This is what our plate should look like after we reach transition. You'll see that each food group is 25% of your plate. And this is a 9-inch plate because it will fill the entire plate and look like you're getting more. So 25% grains, 25%, less than 25% fruits, 25% protein, and greater than 25% vegetables. Understanding that during the weight loss phase, we do cut out, in the 5 and 1, we do cut out the fruits and the grains, okay? And also to help keep us on track, here's a portion size. This is helpful if you're in a restaurant and you don't have your food scale and your measuring cups with you also. The grains should be no bigger than the size of a tennis ball. The protein should be about the size of a deck of cards. And the fruits and vegetables, again, no fruit on the 5 and 1, a small paperback book. So that's the portions of that side of the plate there. Okay. So it's always good to have an action plan, not just learn something, but to create an action plan. And I think we've talked about some of those strategies that we can use when we are triggered and tempted. And I was going, whoop, I didn't turn on my timer. We're pretty close. I think, whoop, here we go. I'm going to, there, okay. I did stop share, great. Okay, I'm going to kind of end it at that point. I think you all have come up with some great strategies. I encourage you to maybe spend some time later today thinking about more specific strategies and digging into element 16 on your own in the life book. If you don't have the life book, you can find it online. There are videos and other podcasts and that type of thing that you can dig into. Lots of great resources out there for you. If you don't know where to find those, reach out to your coach. But I want to turn it over to Kelly. She has something exciting that she would like to share with us.